So this is Zorb here. And what Zorb is it's a rotating shaft with these bowls on it. And it's sort of a steel version of Ben Franklin's glass harmonica. That one has basically sort of wine glasses on it and just a wet fingers enough to excite them. And that's not the case. These take a little more oomph to get them going, so that they're played with. This is a piece of pear wood and it has some rosin on it to make it sticky. And the friction of that gets them to go. It takes a little while to get them to generate. Some are harder than others. This one really doesn't want to sing. Let's try it that way. Why doesn't it? There she goes. Sometimes they get cleaned off or they get a little grease on them and they just don't respond as well. But as a result of this, it's an instrument that you play very slowly. You can't play da 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 on this. You can play long periods. And this is just violin rosin. Sometimes it needs more, and it also builds up on the discs. Anyhow, the hard part of making this, there's a couple of difficult things about making this instrument. One is that you have to put these in a lathe and turn them down. So you turn them down, like take a little more off and get them to go higher. And the other thing is that these cost about $5 a piece. So this is in terms of my life, this is a pretty expensive instrument. There are 13 of those, so that $5 is, $65, and then these pillow blocks here. They're probably about $10 a piece. So all in all, this is a very expensive instrument for me to make. I'd like to make numerous variations of this. I'd like one that played with a foot treadle or some kind of chain drive thing so that you could play it with both hands. That would be a nice thing. I do like the hand control of the speed adds a certain amount of expression to it. And so that's kind of a good thing to have. It would be nice to have two hands. It would be nice to have a keyboard, which is, I'm thinking about that here, where these would be just mounted here and you could just simply press them down. As it stands, I'm still kind of learning what kind of pressure one wants. Like with a keyboard, it takes a certain amount of touch away from you. So, I haven't done that yet. The other thing about this is is that it's I think it sounds good this way. I like this sound with it this way. But for me, I want things to be louder and I need to amplify them. So it has a pickup on it. It's just a standard guitar pickup. It's not very visible there. There, you can kind of see it. That's the pickup down there. And so all the sound travels through this shaft and is picked up by the pickup. Since everything's steel, it's all magnetic, and you know, electromagnetic waves travel through it every time you do this. You know. Anybody who, you know, the whole universe is basically held together by electromagnetism. Here it is with its pickup. And with that, unlike acoustically, you tend to hear a lot more. There's just this sound, which is just the wheels turning. And then there's also this friction sound, just a... The other thing the keyboard would need to resolve is how it comes off, because you can hear it. You know, you can get that little chatter sound in there. But the good thing about being able to amplify it is you can play it with other instruments. And so, you know, the thing about, it takes a long time to tune these. This is kind of grief intensive, cutting these down on the lathe. It's really loud, and, you know, if anyone was tempted to do this, what I do is I run them through the lathe and get a line there, and then I cut them with a cutoff wheel, a grinder instead, because it just takes a long time with the lathe. And then getting the other thing is so I think it's cool that it slows you down playing in a way, because one of my objections to a lot of music is it's more busy than thoughtful, if you know what I mean. Because it's easy to just like run lots of scales over, you know, some kind of ground, pedal point, whatever you want to call it, and just kind of try to make it interesting by making it sound complicated. And this you have to kind of listen to, you know, let it happen. And you kind of have to anticipate, like if you want to get something to start at a time, you have to anticipate when to begin doing it. I had a friend who was a pianist, and he was trying to learn how to play the organ as well. And the thing is with, you know, and he had very good technique, and he had to, the hardest thing he had to learn on the organ was to sort of play like a, you know, a 30-second note ahead of himself all the time. He said that was very difficult. And this is kind of like that. And they last longer than you play them for too. You can mute those as well. Anyway, let's see, is there anything else I can think about with the Zorb? If it, yeah, I'd like to make more of these that had foot pedals and keyboards, and you know, there's probably numerous variations on these. Maybe even get bigger, but the bigger bowls, like the next size bowl up from this, start costing like $10, and you know, yeah, if I were a millionaire. But I'm not a millionaire, so this is what we've got for now. You can mute it. It can also be like, tuning this is a process, and getting it smooth and responding well is a process too. I kind of like the idea that to properly tune this will take the life of the instrument. You know, like if that one ended up like slightly too sharp, I just spend some time filing along this edge. You know, I kind of keep a file handy for. The file is another actuator to play this with. If you wanted more of that scraping sound. You'll notice the scraping sound, it isn't that prominent. You can hear it in there. But to me, it sort of adds timbre to the pitch that you're getting. You know, that'd be another thing, is to make them with different pitch sets. You know, it'd be fun to make one that was, oh, this is more like a, was not equal tempered at all, but it's that idea. It's sort of a, you know, a 12 pitch set. It would be fun to make a, you know, a gamelan pitch set. You know, like a Slendro or a Pelon, you know.